Assalamualaikum and a very good morning to our distinguished lecturer, invited guests, and fellow classmates. On behalf of my team, we are delighted to be here today to present and analyze a significant case law. The title of this case is Muhammad Fauzi bin Hassan versus Motoria Sendirian Berhad, reported in 2023 ILJU 44. Before we delve into the details, allow me to introduce our team. I am Atika Izzati binti Muhammad Kadir, and my co-presenters are Sumaya, Yusra, Ilyana, and Alia. To begin our presentation, I will now hand the floor over to Sumaya, who will take us through the facts of the case. Sumaya, the floor is yours. You may begin.
Muhammad Fauzi bin Hassan worked as a foreman at Motoria Sedan Berhad, an authorized Honda dealer in Pride Penang from 3 June 2005. He was dismissed on 13 November 2020 through termination letter that stated frequent absenteeism, tardiness, and made mistake when checking customer vehicles. Before the dismissal, he had been placed under Performance Improvement Plan (PIP). Muhammad Fauzi claimed that the termination was unfair because it was connected with his health issues and carried out without a proper inquiry. The case concerned relationship of employer and employee between Muhammad Fauzi and Motoria Sendirian Berhad.
Now, I will explain the issue of law in this case. The key issue in Muhammad Fauzi bin Hassan versus Motoria Sendirian Berhad is whether the company dismissed the employee with just cause or excuse as required under Section 20 of the Industrial Relations Act 1967. So, basically, the court needed to determine whether the worker was fairly dismissed or not. To do that, the court examined why the company fired him and whether those reasons were valid. Did the company claim? What did the company claim? The company said they dismissed him because of three major problems. First, too many absences. Every year, he took a large number of sick leaves, emergency leave, and unpaid leave, which is around 60 days and 2 months annually. This pattern happened both before and after his thyroid illness. The court viewed this as showing he was often not available for work, which is a serious issue. Second, persistent tardiness. He had already been warned and placed on Performance Improvement Plan, which is a PIP. However, he continued to come late even after multiple warnings. Repeated lateness is considered misconduct. Lastly, misdiagnosing customer cards. There were 4 cases where he gave incorrect diagnosis or failed to follow proper Honda procedures. This resulted in a customer complaints, additional costs, and risk to the company's reputation. So, overall, these were the reasons the company used to justify the dismissal, and the court assigned each one to decide whether the termination was fair.
Now, I will explain the key legal principles and precedents applied by the Industrial Court in making its decision. To begin with, the primary law used in this case is the Industrial Relations Act 1967. Under Section 20, the court must decide whether the employee was dismissed with or without just cause or excuse. This means that the court's role is to examine whether the employer's stated reasons such as absenteeism, lateness, and misdiagnosis were proven with sufficient evidence. Next, the court applied the principle from the landmark case Gun Kui Foy VGNP Codes. This case states that when an employer provides a reason for dismissal, the court must only evaluate that reason. In another word, the court cannot invent new justification. Applying this here, the court only assessed the employer's reasons such as excessive leave, persistent tardiness, poor performance, and misdiagnosis. Following that, the court used the two-stage test from Milan Auto v. Wong Xian. This test required the court to determine whether the misconduct actually happened and whether the misconduct is serious enough to justify dismissal. By using this test, the court examined each allegation and found the misconduct proven. In addition, the court referred to Telekom Malaysia v. Krishnan QT case, which confirms that the standard of proof in dismissal cases is the balance of probabilities. This simply means that the employer's evidence must be more convincing than the employee's explanation. Based on the documents and witness testimony, the court found that the employer's evidence are stronger. Furthermore, for the excessive medical and emergency leave, the court applied the principle from Malaysia's Melting Corporation case. This case highlights that even though sick leave may be supported by medical certificates, taking excessive leave over many years can still amount to misconduct, especially when it shows unwillingness to work. Here, the claimant took around 60 days of leave every year, showing a consistent pattern. Lastly, regarding misdiagnosis and poor work performance, the court referred to the case Pierce v. Foster. This case establishes that if an employee fails to perform their duties faithfully and competently, the employer has the right to dismiss the employee. In this case, the repeated misdiagnosis placed the company at risk, which has caused customer complaints and affected its reputation. By applying these statutes and precedents, the court concluded that the employer had proven just cause for dismissal. Therefore, the dismissal was lawful.
Thank you, Nana. I will continue our presentation for today. After the court was satisfied with the proof presented by the company, the court confirmed there was termination of the claimant's contract of service by the company effective on 13 November 2020. A letter of termination dated on 12 November 2020 was given to the court as evidence. The claimant does not dispute the fact, and hence the court was satisfied. Next, the court focused on the second issue. The company successfully proved a pattern of serious and persistent misconduct across three areas. First, chronic absenteeism, averaging 60 days of leave per year, persistent tardiness, and professional misconduct, which is repeated misdiagnosis of customers' cars. As the claimant's conduct was inconsistent with the faithful discharge of his duty, and despite the company issuing multiple warnings and a plan for improvement (PIP), the termination was upheld. The conclusion for the second issue is the claimant was dismissed with just cause or excuse under Section 20 of Industrial Relations Act 1967. The final question is, which party that succeeded and why? Motoria had succeeded. This is because the industrial court found that the claimant's dismissal was with just cause or excuse. It was based on a pattern of persistent and serious misconduct by the claimant. As I mentioned before, the company proved three cumulative breaches of duty: chronic absenteeism, persistent tardiness, and professional misconduct. The company also rebutted the claimant's arguments by providing evidence of a proper disciplinary process, which included issuing 3 warning letters and placing the claimant under a plan for improvement (PIP). This demonstrates that the behavior by the claimant was never condoned. Since the claimant failed to show improvement, The company's decision to terminate his service was upheld. That's all from me. Thank you. I'll pass the presentation to the next person, Alia.
This case teaches that employees have a duty to maintain good attendance, be punctual and perform tasks competently. Even if leave is supported by medical certificate, excessive absenteeism and poor performance can still amount to misconduct if it shows unwillingness to perform tasks. It also highlights that poor work quality can affect customer trust and company's image. On the other hand, employee must give warning, guide and give opportunities to the employee for improvement before taking any disciplinary action towards the employees. Overall, this case can be used as a references in future conflict involving poor attendance or performance, proving that dismissal may be justified when employees fail to improve despite fair opportunities. I think that's all from us. Thank you. Bye.